Hi, I'm Melissa Fry with the Youth Development Program. I'm a Youth Development Specialist for Inchelium. We're here today for the Youth Council Candidate Forum, and I'm going to go over the rules. Time limits: each candidate will have a set time for opening statements, responses, and closing remarks. A time clock will be visibly displayed in front of the candidates, and a second will be displayed in view of the audience. Opening statement, 2 minutes. Response to questions, 2 minutes per question. Closing statement, 2 minutes. 2, moderation. A designated monitor will facilitate the debate, ensuring fair and orderly discussion. The moderator have the authority to enforce rules and maintain decorum. Number 3, question format. Candidates will be given equal opportunity to respond. No direct rebuttals unless specified by the moderator. Conduct: candidates must remain respectful and professional. Personal attacks, interruptions, or inflammatory language will not be tolerated. Repeated violations may result in a time deduction or removal from the debate. Audience participation: the audience is encouraged to attend and listen, but must remain respectful. No disruption, shouting, or commentary during the candidate responses. And we'd just like to remind you that this is a youth event, so they're the only ones that get to ask the questions. And here's Kierden, she's our moderator.
Thanks, Melissa. Hi, my name is Kieran McLaughlin. I'm a senior in Inchelium School, and I'm a member of the Colville Tribes.
Hi, my name is Shandy Evans. I am Vice President on Inchelium Youth Council, and I am enrolled in the Colville Confederated Tribes.
Hello, my name is Leela Mason. I attend Inchelium High School and I'm a member of the Colville Confederated Tribes. I'm 16 years old and my parents are Daryl Palmer and Hunter Mason.
Hi, my name is Kendall Nissen. I'm an 8th grader and I'm enrolled in the Colville Confederated Tribes.
Okay, candidates, you have 2 minutes to introduce yourself with your name and position you are running for. Steve.
Good evening. Thank you for inviting us here. My name is Stephen Russell Carson. I'm an enrolled member of the Colville Confederated Tribes. My band is Sinixt. I currently hold Inchelium District position number 1, and I seek re-election. Thank you.
I'm Roger Finley. I'm the incumbent for position 2. I'm seeking re-election for the Inchelium District.
Inchelium most of my life. I'm running for position number 2 in the Inchelium district.
Thank you. We'd like to invite Kendall Nissen up to do the opening prayer for us.
Dear Creator, thank you for giving us good food and open space to discuss this important matter. I hope everyone's doing well and has clear minds to converse openly straight from the heart. I pray this general election goes well and that our voices will be strong. Amen.
Now we'll begin asking questions. Actions speak louder than words. If elected, how are you going to take action to what you proposed in your letters to the community? John.
So one of the things I see that in our future that we have troubles with this current administration is going to be our education. As we know, federal funding has been cut from, Department of Education. This is going to really affect our Head Start level, our lower kids. And going through COVID in the school, when those kids miss that level of education, that makes them a lot further behind as they enter kindergarten. And I would just like to find funding, from wherever we can to make sure that our younger children aren't missed when if this happens. Um, Another thing I'd like to see is the continuation of salmon restoration, and there's lots of ideas out there that we could put to use, find funding, hopefully, and get those salmon over the dam. I mean, we need steps. That's was the baseline of our, you know, our elder economy for generations, and we need to find a way to get those back.
Thank you. Now, Roger.
I didn't write a letter. I didn't write a letter because I live this every day. I'm in the community every day. I go visit the elders on Fridays when I have time. I come here for the youth. You know, this is what I do. This is my job. So there's a lot of things that we're working on. We're working on how we make our timber more resilient to fire because we know that's huge in climate change. We are working on getting salmon over the dams, P2IP. We got $200 million over the next 20 years. We've already put fish in the sand poil. We're catching them in the spring and pit tagging them to see when they come back and where they come back to. So this is my job. This is what I do. I do it for your guys' future.
For mine, yeah, I wrote a letter for primary and I wrote a letter for general. And when the first year that I ran, I wrote a few letters as well. And a lot of it was addressing mental health, opioid issues. Continue to want to work towards streamlining, hopefully, the process for people that are in need and need help. Hopefully work more towards a detox center more locally to get people out immediately. I'd love to continue to work towards, like Roger stated, P2IP, 200 million salmon reintroduction, getting those salmon above the blocked areas of Chief Joe, Grand Coulee. Just continuing the work that's already being started, especially with our Snikes case, making sure that that's continuing to move forward, continue to build the relationships that have been built for many years, continue to build upon that until we get to where we need we get our recognition back in Canada, for the future of all generations to have the finality of not being extinct, not being labeled as extinct, but actually be able to build upon that as it's already being built now in our language and culture, but actually be able to go back into our homelands and have that recognition there. I'd really love to continue to work towards that. So that's what I strive to do. Thank you.
Thank you. How can you better engage with younger generations and their future leadership, Roger?
Well, if I had a lot more time, I'd be able to go to the school and do those things, right? But I'm busy. I leave Sunday to go to COLT, which is the Coalition of Large Tribes, which is they have a lot of connections. They're doing a lot of stuff with this administration. They have big time attorneys. So I've traveled more in this administration than I've ever traveled to protect the things that we have, to make sure that we have the money for education, the money for our forestry, the money for the stuff they're trying to cut, BIA, BIE, all that stuff. So we partnered with these coalitions, large tribes, those kind of people. So we go meet with them and try and do the best we can so that you guys have this future, the future to come up and do this. But if I had more time, I'd be with you guys as much as I could, so I think I could do better time management, but you guys all have my number, my door's open, so.
Thank you, Steve.
I still have kids in the school system, so I'd love to be able to be more continuously involved in that generation. Obviously, like Roger stated, you're very busy, divide and conquer. I'd love to spend a lot more time and opportunity. I'd love a lot more of our younger sports to be built back up, going and following the kids that are in the minor league baseball, trying to get a field here back home so we don't have to travel so far all the time, that other teams can travel here and bring back that community pride for even the younger generations to build upon those sporting events, to build them in relationships to the outer districts as well. Others, I'd love more time and opportunity to come down to the school, possibly have some slots or avenues to be able to speak about tribal leadership, tribal government. I wasn't fully aware or educated 110% until I ran and I got the chance to sit here at this table, and I've learned a lot in 2 years, and so I feel like I have a lot to offer in the sense of any kind of other questions. I appreciate the opportunity that we get here with the youth and the forums that we have. They're very beneficial, and I'd like to continue to build upon that as well. So thank you.
Thank you, John.
How will you ensure transparency and accountability in tribal government? Steve. Oh, hold on.
Um, John, can you hear us?
I apologize about that. Can you guys hear me again? I got kicked off.
Okay, this question is for you. How can you better engage with younger generations and their further leadership?
um, oh, is this me? Sorry, I'm kind of cutting out. I apologize.
How can you better engage with younger generations and their further leadership?
Well, if you guys can hear me, I'm sorry. I'm going to try my best. As far as the youth goes, I mean, I would just like to continue the engagement that I can. I know being a council member takes a lot of time. I mean, with the help of Roger Finley there, we helped our wrestling program immensely, our youth program. I mean, with lots of help, we built that from the ground up from ages K through 12. Um, I help a lot. Like right now, I'm in Farragut State Park with a bunch of seniors and a couple of the freshman class. So I would just like to continue to do that. We take trips across the border into our ancestral homes. We need to exercise those rights with our youth and show them.
Okay. Steve, how will you ensure transparency and accountability in tribal government?
I feel like there was a lot of a great opportunity and work that we've already done to hold transparency, live streaming our committees. Contact numbers are out there, whether it's work, cell phone, personal cell phone, work email, personal email. I feel like anytime that that transparency can happen, it will happen. Obviously, there is things that we have to deal with that are confidential, that cannot be put out there under that, non-disclosure agreements, you name it. So there's certain things that cannot be as transparent as I think a lot of people would like to see, and those are strategically purposeful in times to move forward on business ventures or anything like that that will not get in the way or bind up. So I'd like to, put it out there as well. I think we put ourselves out there 110% with all our contacts to hold that transparency. Everybody as this membership that votes us in has the power and authority to contact us at any time, here 24/7. So just whenever that you want to call and have conversations, concerns, questions, I'm available, and I will continue to be available. We also hired a social media manager tech. I'm not sure the exact title, but he's supposed to be putting out there a lot of our uh, trips, meetings, highlights. I think that's another version of that transparency to let the membership see on those websites and social media sites and tribunes of the work that is being done. I would like to see that to be a little bit more consistent. Thank you.
Thank you. Roger.
Repeat the question.
How will you ensure transparency and accountability in tribal government?
Transparency is accountability. That's being in the community, being there. That's how I've always done it, right? We have controversial things all the time, and if you're not in the community for them to ask questions, then they dwell on it, right? And a lot of times they only get one side of the story. So if you're out in the community, they can ask you. You know, it's better in person than over the phone. So I try to be out when I'm not on travel or in committees. I try and be around. I attend events. People can come up to talk to me. They always say, "Oh, I'm sorry. I don't really want to bother you when you're off work." You're never off work. This job's 24/7. So I'm always on the clock. So if they have a question, I'll answer it. I never shy away from that, and I always vote to make sure I defend that vote. So that's what transparency is.
Roger Finley, what do you hope to accomplish in the next 2-year term should you be elected?
I only get 2 minutes for this. So right now we're working on getting bees. We're doing the business plan. All that should be ready. We wanted to be ready this spring, but it should be ready by next spring. So we have all the funding and everything available. We'll go down to California and we'll buy a bunch of bees and we'll get into bees. There's a kind of a triple dipping on bees. You get the honey, the wax, the bee bread, plus you get ELAP funding and some insurance off of that, and you're just doing your part, right? Working right now on getting some heirloom grains that have more protein, have better nutrients. We can make bread out of it. It's the stuff that our digestive system involved on, so it's better health for us. A lot of the stuff that we eat is processed, and we're not good at digesting that stuff. That isn't what we evolved on. There's a ton of things with fire resiliency in our forest. You know, how do we get more acres burned so they don't burn up in the fall time? Like, we're working on all those different things, fish things, Sinikes things, you know. Hopefully by the end of the next 2 years, Sinikes looks a lot better than it does right now, because, you know, with this current administration, Canada doesn't want to work with us at all. So we've been having meetings up there in Victoria and knocking on those doors. So there's just a ton of things that we're always constantly working on that continue, and they'll probably still be there when you guys are my age. So thank you.
Thank you. Steve?
Yeah, it's tough to minimize the 2 years into a few things. You definitely get involved in a lot, and that's the thing that you need to do, is juggle everything that's important. Try to be as present as possible in many things to see these succeed. Again, I'll state that one of the ones that I want to continue to work on is the Sinikes issues. I believe that we're gaining some more ground. There's a lot more truth and knowledge up there because of the meetings that we were able to hold in Victoria. I think that we have a pretty good avenue to continue to move along a little bit faster in the Sinikes issue. And so I'd like to continue that relationship that we've built there, and I'd like to say that consistency goes a long ways. When they see the same faces, you have the meetings, they progress a little bit quicker. And so again, I'd like to continue that work. I'd like to also continue towards building recruitment retention for law enforcement. We have a lot of crime, opioid issues, a lot of these things that, you know, a lot of the membership sees not a lot of enforcement in that avenue because of the lack of personnel that we have that stays here locally to work. I feel like we're a training platform. We need to get out of this training platform, getting individuals here just to get through their probationary periods, just to take off and go back to where they originally wanted to work. So I'd like to see us figure out a way to retain them, you know, obviously have them work past their probationary period, hopefully maybe look into contracts for a 3-year term, at least to build that relationship with the community in that time frame to help alleviate some of the crime rates. So I'd like to work towards that as well. Thank you.
John?
Could you repeat the question, please? I was cut out there. Thank you.
What do you hope to accomplish in the next 2-year term should you be elected?
One of the things I'd like to see is like a recycling program. There's a lot of issues that we have with oil and whatnot, and to get an oil recycling machine, with some of our expenditures, that would be nice to see. A phase where we went through a hemp phase down in Swawilla. I would like to see that renewed with somebody that's going to be more manageable to that, because there's a lot of things that can come out of that, along with it'll help our timber industry out, because our timber ain't gonna last forever. I know we're doing really well in our forest management, but there's other things we could be doing as far as that. And I'd like to kind of iterate on what Steve said about our law enforcement. We need to get out of that training platform and work with not only keeping them here, but working with the surrounding law enforcement officers in interagency platforms.
Thank you. What strategies can our rural community implement to improve the ability of law enforcement, EMS, and firefighters to efficiently locate and respond to 911 calls, given the challenges posed by unclear or unknown addresses? Steve.
Yeah, this is another great one. One would be to work on like GIS updates for address. A lot of it as well as the membership, maybe doing surveys or something to get out there enough to implement people to update their addresses out in the county and as well as within our boundaries. Another one too is the response times with EMS. At least here we have fortunate enough to have EMS local within our district. The response times for PD it's reactive. There's not a lot of proactive because you're down to 1 or 2 officers sometimes that are working during a weekend, so they're staying central, having to respond long ways to calls. So building up that program to hold and retain a lot more would keep people more local, response times quicker. And again, you have somebody who works here a number of period of years. They're going to get to know the community members. They're going to get to know the community. They're going to be able to understand where these people are that are in danger or in need without having an actual physical address to type into a system. They're just going to know because they've been here long enough to build that relationship. So I'd like to continue to work towards building that up. Our response times to public safety, to road infrastructures that all coincide together in response times as well. Our roads lack the time for people to respond in a timely manner. It could be life or death. It's very critical. And so I'd like to continue to work towards the whole realm that's all connected. Thank you.
Thank you. Roger?
Well, a lot of it too comes to funding, right? We've done an incident management plan. We've actually had people come and give a demonstration of it at our district meeting, but we just don't have the funding or the people to implement it. And that they have a good plan. We have people that know what they're doing. We just need more people to help them out and to get more funding. And that's where the job gets tough, is you're trying to lobby for funding all the time. And is one thing more important than the other? Is it more important for your elders to get firewood or pellets, or is it more important for this incident management plan? So you're juggling those things all the time. But I agree, there's a lot of room for improvement, but we just need to find more funding.
Thank you. If you become a member on the Colville Business Council, what will be priorities in terms of self-governance and sovereignty that you will take on? Roger.
Sovereignty comes up all the time, and we're more of a hybrid. We like to use that word when it actually kind of means something, but we're in no way, shape, or form close to being sovereign. Sovereign is being able to close borders to the outside world. Right now, we don't get power from anybody else but the outside world. We don't get food from anywhere else, right? So there's one tribe, I think, in the United States that's totally sovereign, that if the government shut off the funding to them, they'd close borders and be fine. We're far from that. We're $250 million a year tribe. 90 million of that comes from the general fund. The rest is grants and contracts. So most of the services and stuff you see today come from that. So we're working towards those things. We're working towards being energy sovereign, right? That's a start. Then once you make your own power and you have your own power, then that's what you help get your elders lower power. Because right now that's their most expensive bill, is their power bill in the wintertime. So start with that. Start with the foods. That's true sovereignty to me, is to be able to repel borders and take care of your own.
Excuse me. Yeah, so the way that we can work more towards our, sovereignty, I think that some have ideas on is continue to buy back the land that was taken. We're a checkerboard jurisdiction. There's a lot of fee ground within the boundaries. Obviously, with that takes a lot of funding. The only way we can get funding is economic development, business building upon business that we have already, and then building upon new businesses that are in the future. And once we're able to gain a lot more of the revenue stream that we'd like to see come in, then we can buy more property within our boundaries and start excluding fee ground. That'd give us a little bit more sovereignty as far as land rights goes. But Roger's right, there's not 100% sovereignty availability until we build enough funding to close out the outside world, and that's a long ways away. I would love to see us build towards that. I mean, it's going to take many, many years and generations, and hopefully with the work that the table's done in the past, in the present, and in the future, that's what everybody else strives for as well, is to work towards that sovereignty. I'm 100% for that. And so, again, I'd like to build on economic development for the revenue streams to come in and start providing a lot more of that funding availability to really push towards sovereignty in the areas that we can maintain our sovereign rights 100%. Our land rights, our hunting rights, those are sovereign. We don't allow anybody else to hunt our reservation besides our membership. Those are some of the things that we are sovereign, is our subsistence. We're not trophy hunters. We eat this food. It's our first foods, and so that's priority as well, to maintain that, our land, our wildlife, and our resources. That's sovereignty in my opinion. Thank you.
Steve, how will you invest in opportunities for youth, such as scholarships, internships, or mentorships?
I know that there's some out there. I know that we already have some services that provide some scholarships. I'd like to see those continue to be built upon. I would, again, a lot of it is just really working more towards a positive revenue stream, successful revenue streams. I think as long as we are able to build and move more towards more business, we can offer a lot more of those opportunities to our youth and membership all across this reservation. It's very important for our youth to continue to be educated. I would like to see a lot more of traditional education, hands-on education. Any way that those programs can be revitalized would be great. I would love to see, I know Roger's been working on it a lot, is to get like hands-on technical schooling. A lot of scholarships more towards that. Taro offers a lot of programs there for people that are off to trade schools to help provide tools, any of that they can buy to go to mechanic school or carpentry. So again, there is a lot that's out there. I'd like to see a lot more boosted towards education, housing, to help alleviate some of the stress that this world will put on you out there, to focus more on your education more so than having to survive out there in the world. And so all for it. Thank you.
How will you invest in opportunities for youth, such as scholarships, internships, or mentorships?
It's money. It's always money. But our program does really well. What people need to realize, we're a large tribe. Other tribes do better, but they're smaller tribes. So they don't need as much money to do the things that they get to do. So I think that the staff we have do excellent with what they have already. I know we need more money, and we're working on those things. We're doing investment funds. We're PRF insurance to make, we're diversifying to make more money, right? That's just what we need. We need more money. I think what we need to work on more is recruitment, is how how are we going to replace the people that we have in there right now? Who's the next up and comer? Years ago they did this, with Reggie Atkins and those people. They said, hey, you want to be in forestry? We're going to provide you the scholarship and you come back and work for us. That's about where we are now. It's tough to find talent. We're just going to have to make the talent. We have the talent here. I just don't think that sometimes those people know that that's what they want to do. They haven't been, put in that position that they understand and know this job and want to do it. And so I think if we can recruit better, and that'll make it a lot easier too, because then our money's going for more on the return to the tribe instead of, because a lot of people go to school, they decide this is what they want to do, or those things, so that money could have went to somebody that we just know that they're going to do this and just invest in it.
Stephen, what are your top 3 priorities as a prospective councilman?
Yeah, again, so I think some of these questions are almost pointed into the right direction of the same answer, and a lot of it is our opioid and drug and mental health, crime, tribal enforcement, and again, a lot of this is funding, it's money, it's everything that we need to lobby for and continue to lobby for, housing. Those are some of the top priorities that I think all kind of link in together. And so I'd like to continue to see that evolve. I'd like to see recruitment, retention, like Roger mentioned. Those are the things that make these programs successful. You can have a big program with a budget and then only 3 people want to work, but it's sustainable for 10 positions, but you can never keep those 10 positions full. So in order to provide those types of services in public safety, you need people to do the job. And so how do we do that? I know we've done how do I say this? That we've in conversations we've had where go to the schools, as far as some of these programs, law enforcement, corrections, to help get a lot of interest from a lot of youth and membership that don't really strive to go or leave to go off to college. They want to be able to stay home and work, and so corrections lowered their hiring age to 18 rather than 21. So that's another opportunity for youth that's coming out of high school that wants to get into that field. They can jump right in and start a career. So I'd like to see a lot more of that go back into our schools to promote, give information, and help build upon keeping people here locally to really build upon this tribe and our employment force.
Roger.
So Steve mentioned it earlier, land buyback. That's one of the biggest things. That's probably number one. That's one of the number ones we look at, because we can't even do things with our hunting seasons and things like that because our reservation is so checkerboarded. Elders, youth, those are another huge thing. You want to take care of them. We have goals. We set goals to be able to give our elders more money. They need more money. They shouldn't suffer when they reach a certain age. So elders, youth, then economics. We need to diversify our portfolio. We can't count on timber forever, and we can't count on casinos forever. So we need to start building that diversity, and that's one of the things we're working on now. Fifth one, I guess they're all rolled up into those. Thanks.
John, the question was, what are your top 3 priorities as a prospective councilman? John, what are your top 3 priorities as a prospective councilman?
What are my goals? Is that what I heard? I cut out a little bit.
What are your top 3 priorities as a prospective councilman?
Sorry, I couldn't hear it again. But just as a prospective candidate, I would always try to do my best. I see our children as our future. We always need to keep making sure they have place to grow, room for growth, whether that be here or on the reservation. We, for our community. We always need growth. We seem to be those people.
Um, Roger, how as a council person would you work toward balancing economic development with preserving the natural environment and resources around Inchelium?
Repeat that.
How as a council person would you work toward balancing economic development with preserving the natural environment and resources around Inchelium?
So preserving the I mean, economics is making money, right? And so we're working on those things. You know, how do you provide jobs here? You know, how do you get people here? You know, we have to microgrid or do any of those things because we don't have any interconnections on the power lines to do any of those things. So that's some of the things that we're working towards is power. And once you can get more power, then you can start more things to diversify. You can build some sort of Adirondack chair, you know, use your timber to make Adirondack chairs, those kind of things, but that takes power. And so that's the main thing first is to get power.
Sorry to have you do this again, but can you go ahead and repeat that?
Yeah. Okay. How, as a council person, would you work toward balancing economic development with preserving the natural environment and resources around Inchelium?
So yeah, number one priority is our resources. So obviously that's going to be a number one protected avenue in any kind of economic development in our area. And I think that's kind of one thing that needs to be understood is a lot of the economic development that we have. I mean, obviously we'd love to build big facilities here to provide many, many jobs, but the tribal government that we have and the tribal programs that we do have a lot of employment already that's available, and we are rural. So we do a lot of economic development ideas outside of this boundaries, and I think that's going to bring a lot more revenue stream because of, you put business out where people are. You're going to have a lot more people utilizing those businesses to build upon that revenue stream, and that's what we want to feed back into this community and the services. So I would say protecting it would be to build and maintain economic development outside of this boundary and look at those portfolios and avenue streams to build upon. I'd like to see us get like our SEMA spruce back. I'd like to see something like that be provided here for our community again. I think that was a great place when I was a kid growing up, and I'd like to see that opportunity for our youth as well to have a gathering place to eat, to talk, to visit. I'd love to see that for a whole community again. So I'd like to see something like that as far as economic development. I don't think that's going to really affect our resources here. So looking upon something like those would be great. Thank you.
Thank you. John, can you hear us?
Yes, I can. So as far as economical development, I mean, one of the things we see is there's a lot of people that travel from outside the community to come here and work. A short-term goal would be to build houses where we can house our teachers, our doctors, the people that work in our community, so they don't have to travel as much. That would be a short-term goal to help, build houses that would provide jobs immediately if we got that funding. Another way is, that waterway that we live next to has connected us to communities, from Canada all the way down to the mouth of the Columbia. If we could find a good way to use that river and safely protect it, that would be another way we could, grow on our economy. There's, we have lots of, I don't want to say lots of, but there's lots of fields there that we could be using instead of just renting it out to cattle. We could be growing things there. With the way the economy is going, growing our own products would be a good way for our community, and that would be sustainable to keep ourselves sustainable. And those are just a few things.
Thank you. Steve, what is the main health challenge facing the community, and how will you solve it?
I'd like to admit right now that I'm not going to be able to solve that. I'd like to be able to be a partner in a partnership and to try to help provide anything that I can and services to build upon to help it. But I don't think that anybody can solve those issues single-handedly. And so collectively, I'd like to work. What I believe is probably the highest priority in health is our mental health and our opioid and fentanyl and drug issues. And again, I think uh, it all maintains into our enforcement aspect. Our criminal code, we've already passed the criminal code for mandated minimums of sentencing. So we have been working more towards getting those accountabilities in place. And obviously, people stumble, nobody's perfect, and so I'd like to see a detox center close locally when somebody's ready to get the help and strive for that help, that we can offer it immediately. I've been aware of many issues where some are ready and they just within the time frame waiting for a detox center to open to get to, then the relapse happens and then you kind of miss that opportunity. So I think that's a big one that can help a lot of people in sobriety. A lot of people get to a healthy version of themselves, and I want to be able to see us be able to provide that service locally. So that'd be one of the priorities in health that I'd see.
Thank you, Roger. What is the main health challenges facing the community and how will you solve it?
Probably capacity, space, and funding. Like I give props to the clinic we have now. I mean, they do great with what they have. I mean, but I remember when we had a little tiny clinic that was right over here, you know. So we're building on those things. They do great at finding money. They're expanding all the time. Hopefully in the future we get dialysis. You know, why are our people driving so far to go to dialysis? You know, how many people are driving that far? You know, we look at all those things, but it's space, it's capacity, and it's funding, you know, and so we're constantly trying to diversify our portfolio for the funding. Like when you have money, it solves a lot of problems, right? The housing issue, you have money, it solves that problem. You know, we just need to figure out ways to make more money.
Thank you, John. Oh.
Roger, how will you measure your success at the end of your term?
That's tough. I mean, you set goals and meet your goals. I don't ever consider myself to be successful. There's always something to be done. I always have something at the end of the day that I wanted to get done that I didn't get done. So I don't know if there is a success to it, right? This job is so huge. You deal with so many different things. So I don't know how you measure that success. Does somebody else measure that for you? Because for me, I haven't been as successful as I wanted to be, but there's barriers in place in this job. You're always going against something to try and get the funding or, you know, those kind of things. So I don't know how you measure that success or if I'm considered successful at this job.
Yeah, I agree with Raj. It's hard to measure the success after a 2-year term. It's a short window. I mean, again, you're involved in so much. It's so complex and complicated. You're here, you're there. So you really don't. A lot of times, you're going to see a lot of the things, even if you start or you come in the middle of it, that you really find the success at the end of that it's going to be finalized by your end of your 2 years. So you just build upon again the past representation, the past leadership, everything that's happened, and you just do your part. And I think that at the end of the 2 years, if you've done your part, then that's just being a part of that success as a whole. So individualized success side, I'm not gonna strive for that individual side of success. You're elected in by the membership who believes that you can go out and do the best by that tribe and membership, and I measure it that way. That I do my part, and if others find that successful, then they'll continue to support me, and I'll continue to support as no matter what, whether I'm here at this table or I'm not. I'll just join in on everything else and continue to help build upon what our tribe is, where it has been and where it's going to become. And so again, you really can't minimize that 2 years into a success. There's a lot of work that goes into that, and again, I'd just like to keep continuing to participate and be a part of moving our tribe forward and for the betterment of our youth and membership and elder and success of our tribe.
John, can you hear us? John, can you hear me? John, can you hear me? Okay.
We're moving on. Roger, how would or will you address the growing issue of loss of cultural identity in youth?
That's tough. I mean, I think it was easier when I was younger because there was more people that knew the culture and practiced it. We had Tom Louie, and I mean, we do what we can with what we've learned from him, but it's just, that's tough. Like missing him, you guys had to go to Canada to do language. I mean, it's just, there's just not that many people that know it or teach it, and I think we need to put more money towards that so people don't have to work a regular job just to gain those cultural practices back and traditions. That's a tough one. I don't have the best answer for that. I'd like to know more myself.
Stephen?
Yeah, I would obviously love the opportunity to know more and participate more in language and my culture. Life happens, life's busy. I had my first child when I was 18, and it's just, you're constantly busy. It's hard to find the time and opportunity. So I'm really happy and grateful now that we do have language in our schools, that we have built upon at some level more implementation into our youth. They have the more time and opportunity, and the brain's like a sponge to really pick that up a lot quicker. And so I'm appreciative of that. I did go up to Canada and went to the first language speakers gathering, and that was the first time in my 42 years of life that I sat in a whole room where it was nothing but language and nobody spoke English. I didn't understand it, and that broke me at one point, but it also made me very proud, and it was probably one of the most awe experiences I've ever had in my life. And so I'd love to have that opportunity. I'd love to see that opportunity here, where it's just our language being spoken. So anything that I can do to help provide that continuation and even for myself to build upon and learn, I definitely would strive for that. I guess I'm kind of waiting for my young ones to grow old where they don't need so much consistency, and I get a little bit more free time maybe in my retirement years. Maybe that's when I'll learn. I'm not sure when the opportunity is available. I definitely want to take that opportunity 110% and put all that I have into it. I know this has been mentioned before, but we didn't take our language and culture away from us. The government has, and so I think, lobbying for more funding is definitely one thing that we strive for and will strive for. We shouldn't have to pay 100% of our budget out of the general fund to reinstate that, even though we will and will continue to. I think that the government needs to provide that funding, and again, that's another one of our jobs and responsibilities, is to really go out and lobby for that. And so I'd like to see us work more towards building upon that with more funding.
Okay, candidates, now it's time for your closing remarks. Each of you will have 2 minutes to say what your top priorities would be if you are elected and how you plan to achieve them. We'll start with Steve.
Again, thank you for this opportunity. I've really enjoyed the primary forum, and this is a new one for the general forum, and I've enjoyed both of them. So thank you very much. And the top priorities, again, I think have been mentioned many times in this conversation, and they're going to be more towards the public safety realm and our health realm and mental health and detox and road infrastructures. Those are really big priorities because I think they all kind of coincide. A lot of it, again, is funding, recruitment, retention. I'd like to figure out better ways to have that opportunity, sign-on bonuses for enforcement and contracts signed for 3 years, possibly to work here, to put that work here into the communities locally. I'd like to see a lot of that move forward. Sinixt, obviously, that's a big one for me. I really want to be to continue that work and continue building upon that work with others jointly to make sure that our youth, again, because this does go back to our culture, language. It's been lost in our homeland. We've been extincted from our homeland. So continue to work to have that cleared back up, to have that recognition and reconciliation done. I think will bring a lot of generational internal feeling of who we are. We always know who we are, but this will put a stamp on Canada and everywhere else that's called us extinct. Obviously, we haven't been, and I think that would be a big win for our tribe and our membership and our youth and generations to come, is to be prideful and proud of who they are and where we come from, and a lot of that history built upon an education to our youth, to where we don't have loss of identities. We have many bands that are all together. So again, I'd like to see us all build upon those relationships, build stronger relationships within our own tribe and also with the outside tribal nations. So thank you again for this opportunity, and you all have a great evening.
You have 2 minutes to say what your top priorities would be if you are elected and how you plan to achieve them.
So my background's energy, so obviously that's what I work on a lot. I look for actual green energy, right? A lot of the stuff that they tell you is green isn't green. You know, what are we going to do with all these electric car batteries when they're done? There's lithium in them, cobalt, those things. We haven't looked towards magnet generation or some of those things. People say that solar is the best. You can use solar, and it's like, well, solar is only 25 to 30 years, and then what do you do with those photovoltaic cells when they're done? So my background's energy. I do a lot of energy work. I'll continue to do that work. I work on a lot of diversity stuff, the bees, the heirloom grains, fusion. We've been doing a lot of crazy things with those things. We've found another niche for our timber, which is a mass timber, which keeps your building at a carbo. They're going for net carbon zero, they call it, because every time you build a building, there's carbon, right? There's whatever you have in the steel to waterproof it, whatever you have in the concrete to seal it. Those things put stuff back into the air that just isn't good. So if you use timber, then it's your carbon's a lot lower. So we've been doing that with mass timber framing. A company is partnered with us to do those things. So we found another niche for our timber that actually brings a little more revenue for us. And so we just continue to do those things, search for better economic development. That way we can bring back better programs for our youth and our elders and the rest of the communities. So I'll continue to do that for elected. Thank you guys very much.
Thank you all for participating in this youth event.
We want to acknowledge the courage it takes to step up and run for this type of position.
We wish you all the luck and hope that you continue engaging the youth if you are elected.
Thank you.